Hello, welcome to, well, this is now episode 5 of Shut Up Man. Alma and I did technically record
Sure did.
an episode 5. However, after playing the footage to edit it, I realized that his audio did not record because OBS decided to reset my settings. So here we are with the new and improved episode 5. Hopefully.
Might not be improved.
Joining us this week is someone very near and dear to our hearts.
Oh.
My roommate.
Wow.
Please don't let me in with that. My roommate and one of my best friends for over a decade now. Dalton, welcome.
Hey, thanks, man. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, and one of the reasons we want to have him on is okay. Anyways, never mind. I was gonna say something weird. What was I gonna say? So this week we want to talk a bit about the year in review, kind of. Some of our picks for the year, some things that made this year not a total shithole. And how kind of they affected us and influenced us. So we'll have some main ones and then some honorable mentions and stuff like that to kind of go through and just briefly talk about each one and kind of how they, helped get us through, I guess. Obviously, this year was different.
Correct.
So
this year was built different.
I was about to say, this year was built entirely different.
We still managed to make it through. So there you go. Congrats,
Well,
everyone.
I don't know. There's like 10 days left. So.
All right.
Still a chance. What's up?
I don't know why Rosie gets needy as soon as I start recording. It's like
Because
she knows.
you're talking to other people, not her. Why do I look like a high school cheerleader right now?
What do you mean right now, bro?
Oh no! Oh no! Was there many cheerleaders in your high school that had goatees?
Yeah,
I
all
hope
of
so.
That sounds like a pretty rad high school.
That's a shower time. Well, they're down.
No, none of them had goatees. We had
So,
no male cheerleaders.
apart from that stuff that we're going to talk
well,
about,
we had one.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that happened in the last, at this point, 2 weeks, other than Mandalorian season finale. Actually, really, we, at this point, haven't talked about, 3 episodes.
What, Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. It's very good. I'm not going to spoil things.
It's very good Star Wars.
Yes, it's very good Star Wars. That's probably a very good way to put it. One small thing about the finale. I'm not going to mention the other thing because that would be a spoiler. But one thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest spoiler of all.
They, at one point in the episode, they are doing a sort of montage of the Dark Troopers, and they start it, and all of a sudden, just straight up dubstep starts playing.
Oh yeah, that was
for about
God.
about 8 seconds. It's like whoa, just full on, it's like building, and then it cuts back to the other characters, and the music goes back to normal, and it was super off-putting.
Really
and they kind of later in the episode when they're doing scenes with the Dark Troopers, they it's like a mix of symphonic and then dubstep together, kind of, and that very much took me out of the episode.
Yeah, we started laughing when it was supposed to be a really cool scene of these robot droid super badass Dark Troopers, and it's and it's just not Star Wars, and we were like,
and I get it,
what is this?
This is they're trying new things. This is Disney, this is a show, not a movie, so they know that it's a broader audience that's going to be watching it and putting time into it, and maybe some people will like that. I don't know.
That's not new things though. That's like
that's old.
That's
like
that's
20,
old. Like,
well, no, yeah, that is true.
That's just a weird choice. Like, it's in that weird place where it's not old enough to be like, you know, like Thor Ragnarok. You put in classic rock and it fits because it's old. Like it's old. But dubstep is like the shit that you don't want to remember from middle school. Like that's not old. That's not old enough yet. Like you can't. That's weird. I've already had everything spoiled for that, and I don't care about spoilers. But like, I did not know that happened. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was
because everything was overshadowed by the other thing that nobody was really talking about. That there is the ending moments of the episode had me
fully torqued,
like, standing up, like
Jay was
yelling.
screaming.
I was.
Jay was actually yelling.
It was difficult because
I wasn't, unfortunately.
I was not expecting it. I was like, no. Like, oh, dude,
it's not real.
It was great. But yeah, the last few episodes I would say were really, really good. I think actually this season kind of started off a little bit slow. Like it was more like world building, like with the frog episode and stuff like that, which is fine. Like but
yeah,
it definitely
I'm all about like the extra Star Wars universe stuff. Like because I read the books and like a lot of that is like never comes back into like major media canon. So I just like the universe, and I really like those like world building episodes.
Yeah. So,
one thing I will say about Mandalorian though is like the combat for me was really hit or miss. Like the Boba Fett combat when he came, when they were on that like rock thing, and he was fighting all the stormtroopers or whatever. That was really good.
It very much depends on the character, it feels like. Because scenes with him, obviously scenes with Mando, like Ahsoka.
Yeah, Mando's combat's super good. Dude, Ahsoka's fights were insane.
Hidden DLC character at the end of the season, like those scenes were all really good.
Hidden DLC.
But some of the, like, I keep forgetting her name, Boba Fett's sidekick.
I don't know.
She's like doing all these extra roles, and like it's just like the over the top. Like really I'm a cool space gunslinger, and like well,
it's just
like you are cool, but like maybe don't do that. Like
the team from Galaxy Quest, like does the rolling help?
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's very good Star Wars.
Oh yeah, and the fucking chicks, her giant heavy laser machine gun got jammed. Like, man, what? Your gun shoots lasers.
It's so the other thing about that is that it's really funny because in the games you use like cartridges most of the time. Like
there's like a heating system.
Well, no, certain guns, but like if you play like Republic Commando or like even like KOTOR and stuff like that, if I remember correctly, like you need ammo.
I think so.
So like but it doesn't look like it had. I mean, it kind of looked like it had a drum on it. I don't know. It did have a drum. It was just really I feel like funny in the moment.
It's just a nitpicky thing. I think they just should have been like. They should have been like, my gun is like overheated or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of like, my gun is jammed.
That's
there's no jamming mechanism in that gun.
That's a very Star Wars thing. Like consistency has never been like, Star Wars is like.
Oh, that's the other thing.
But like for little things like that, I mean.
Yeah.
But like especially in the games, if you're comparing the games, like that should.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I also just chalk that up to like. I can't imagine the stress of just writing a show like The Mandalorian because there's just infinite things you can do wrong. You know what I mean? Like
because Star Wars fans suck.
Yeah. Well, any fandom that's that dedicated sucks.
Yeah, and that large.
Yeah.
Because you're never gonna satisfy everybody.
But I get it. Like especially as somebody that plays way too many shooter games and is like knows a lot about firearms, like that shit always kind of I'll be watching be like it's kind of like the classic thing with like action movies, right? Like they never reload. Like even as a kid I was like, how is he
Yeah. Well, that's why movies like John Wick and stuff are so
so good.
appealing because.
Yeah.
But with the consistency thing, it's funny because I saw today on Twitter that in Rebels, Bo-Katan actually is given the Darkblade, even though near the end of the episode, there's that whole spiel about like she has to fight him for it. But in Rebels, they already had someone just give her the blade. So like, okay, well, was that an exception?
Well,
what?
This is after Rebels, right?
Oh yeah, because Rebels is.
Oh yeah, Rebels is in between 3 and 4.
No, Rebels is in between. Oh yes, sorry, yes, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that's in between 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Rebels is pre-Rogue One.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's
maybe
before like any of the Death
found
Star
her
stuff.
Mandalorian roots and changed her mind.
No, she
She's
just
like, now I have to earn it.
She was already pretty crazy, to be fair. So,
yeah.
Anyways, I don't really think that there's. Oh well, I mean, I started watching Lovecraft Country last night. I'm only 2 episodes in, but it's very good.
I've heard.
It's not what I expected. But it is if you at all like monster lore slash horror-esque stuff, but then it also is set in the 50s and is very much also about like racism and prejudice and things like that, and it's really good so far. I'm enjoying it. So but I mean, I don't know, is there anything else before we get into the other stuff?
No.
Okay.
We watched The Dark Tower last night.
Oh yeah, we don't have to talk about that. Actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Can we talk about the best part of the movie, which was
the most realistic part of the movie is this kid goes on a forum to find a location, and he says, "Where is this house?" And it scrolls down a few comments, and then it just says, "Up your butt."
And it's spelled U-R.
Yeah, it was so good.
Oh, that's perfect.
I was like, holy
so
shit,
good.
whoever made this is brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But no, it actually wasn't as bad as I expected. Like, obviously, based on the reviews and stuff like that.
They were really good.
It wasn't good.
Sequences.
Yeah, there was some really cool sequences with like
stuff was good.
Idris Elba, like the little nuance things they did with like the way he would reload his gun sometimes and like stuff like that was
the
it was neat.
Was cool.
But yeah, it was not. Matthew
wasn't a great movie.
Did not act his heart out for that one. He just got paid.
I'm finding that the two movies that we've watched that are center the main plot around children happen to not be great.
Yeah, kids' movies aren't good.
Artemis Fowl and The Dark Tower.
Oh, I heard that one was fucking garbage.
Dude, it was so bad.
It was so bad.
I made him watch it while he was here.
Yeah, we watched like 3 movies that night. We watched the Jungle Book movie.
Not terrible.
Aladdin.
That one's centered around the kid.
I like Jungle Book and Aladdin.
Aladdin was special.
Like that.
Also, not as bad as I expected, to be fair. But
and then you were like, "Yo, Artemis Fowl. I read these books as a kid. Let's see how.
Yeah, the
how
books
it is." And I was like,
fucking
"It got
ruled.
6% on Rotten Tomatoes."
And I was like, "Good."
We'll
I was like, "Good. Let's watch it."
I knew it was bad.
And then we watched it, and it was
bad.
horrible.
Damn.
It was so bad, dude. That was something.
Yeah. Anyway,
so those are not going on our movies of the year. Let's just get the movie of the year out of the way, because there's only one movie that came out, in my opinion, and that was Tenet.
Yep. And if you think it's bad, you're wrong.
Okay.
So.
I get how people wouldn't like it. I understand.
I get it too.
You're just slow in the brain, and it's fine.
You're just.
I understand people don't like it. They're just stupid.
Your brain is a smooth one, and you don't get it, and that's fine. But
That's
no,
minimal wrinkles in your brain.
No, but I genuinely do like understand like quarrels that people would have with it, because I wouldn't say it was a perfect movie. However, it was very good, and I still think about it, and I definitely am going to be doing a rewatch soon. So I actually like I want to watch Wonder Woman. That technically comes out on
we'll do that
Friday.
We'll do that.
So we'll probably talk
Christmas
about that,
night.
but I doubt it's like anything brilliant.
Yeah,
and
it's just gonna be like a good superhero.
The only other one I want to watch is Monster Hunter. I guess no, actually. Oh wait, did The Gentleman come out this year? I think it did actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably the only other
2019.
one. Oh, was it? Okay. Never
Really?
mind.
Jesus, this year sucks. Everything just blended into last
I mean,
year.
yeah,
Man.
Oh wait,
I didn't.
Why did
I
it say 2019? I literally googled it and like in the search bar it said 2019
Maybe it
film,
was
and then I actually
supposed to.
clicked it and it says January 24th, 2020.
Okay, so yeah, so
Could have
So it
gotten
was
delayed.
2020.
either way, I watched it this year and I enjoyed it. It was I thought it was good. So that's probably my only honorable mention. All right, well, now for what we're really here for. Video games. So surprisingly enough, there's actually it is a pretty decent year for good video games. Not well, actually, I think it's a good year for video games.
I think it's been a good year.
So I'm gonna list some,
Yep.
and then we can talk about them, and then I have some honorable mentions after that. And then obviously you guys are welcome to bring up whatever. But I think the main ones that at least two out of the three of us like spent some time on. Monster Hunter World Iceborne dropped for PC this year. It was already out on console, but yeah, do you played Iceborne on console or no?
No,
Okay,
just
I
the
didn't think
original.
so. Yeah.
The
So we
base
both
game,
played.
whatever you wanna
We
call it.
both played the base. We both played the base game on console, and then I waited for Iceborne to drop on PC. And
Well, I played the base on PS4
both.
and PC.
Yeah.
I had to upgrade.
that went down the wrong pipe. Oh my god. But I mean, we both spent a pretty good amount of time on it. I mean, as far as let me see if I can. Let me look.
I
Yeah,
definitely cleared 120 hours or something.
Yeah,
probably.
I'm just shy of 100 hours. It's a fucking great expansion.
Oh my god, yeah.
They absolutely killed it. It was very, very fun. Lots of really cool like interactiveness with.
Never
being able
mind,
to play with
200
other
hours.
people.
Okay.
So I think that one was. I mean, that was right at the start of the year too. Honestly, it's kind of one of those that like I would like to go back to, but I feel like takes a lot of investment to catch up at this point. So
Yeah, it's a game that I don't know that it takes that much investment. It takes as far as like time goes. Like obviously we have a lot of hours in the game, but I don't think you necessarily need to put that many into it to get what you want out of it. When we get hooked on a game, we get hooked on a game, but
yeah,
I think that game I have to be in the mood for it, like, because yeah, I know I'm gonna get hooked. Like, I'm not just gonna play for like 20 hours, do the new monsters, and put it down. So like,
yeah.
and if I have other stuff I want to play, then I'm just not gonna do.
Right, yeah, and like so they've added new monsters and stuff since we last played, or at least since I've last played.
Oh, yeah. Quite a bit.
And it all looks great. The game itself is also just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd
Well,
be curious as to how much better I could make it look now with my new parts, but yeah, it's good.
It's one of those things where like they've had a formula for a long. It's the same thing as Pokemon, right? Like the new Pokemon game will come out and everybody be like, I don't like this and I don't like this, but I like this and I like this. But if the core formula is the same, if you like Pokemon, you're gonna like it. if you like Monster Hunter, you're gonna like the new one. So like that's how I've always been. So that's
Now
one of those like. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Finish your point, because
I was just gonna say like I've played since because the last like three games before this one came out on portables, and like it was the only portable game I played as an adult besides Fire Emblem, I guess. And I mean, it's the exact same thing. I mean, the controls are different, but you know what you're getting. So it's an easy like it comes out, you drop the money and you love it. Like
yeah, that's why I was gonna say that we get to look forward to Monster Hunter Rise coming out next year for Switch. So
yeah, and that's great because it's on a portable system with a good control scheme. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, the worst part about all the other Monster Hunters was playing it on a 3DS, and like, talk about hand cramps, dude. Like, oh,
yeah, they're not like they're pretty intensive in like your interaction with the game, like and what you have to do. So I can imagine, and I mean. And the nice thing too about Switch is that you can still put it on a screen and stuff like that, but then being able to travel with it. Speaking of Switch, Animal Crossing New Horizons did come out this year, obviously. Was literally the main reason I bought a Switch right as the pandemic was starting, or at least right when all the quarantine type stuff was starting. I managed to get one.
I came back to my Switch.
Yeah, I managed to get one like from a Best Buy. And then definitely played a lot of it.
Yeah, I played it.
It's one that I continually think I want to go back to. And I'm sure I will at some point because they've done a lot of updates. Like, they're very, very good about updating. The issue that I have with it is Nintendo's absolutely abysmal online services.
If you want to see like a friend or something, it takes like
it's such a fucking hassle.
So
this game brought a lot of people together. It brought me together with a lot of my friends in a time when we couldn't see each other, right? And I think it did that for a lot of people. I think it accomplished exactly what they wanted to, apart from making money. But it was a social game when we didn't have social. Socialism. And no, that game is the epitome of capitalism. Are you kidding me?
That's true.
Fuck Tom Nook.
Yeah, fuck Tom Nook.
But if
at one point I had my flag a picture of him with an X over his face.
Oh my god. But it is definitely a very, very easy game to get lost in and just kind of enjoy the moment and be separated from like what's going on around you and stuff like that. And I think that's very, very good. I think that a game that did it, in my opinion, even better, is a little indie game called Among Us.
Little.
Yeah. Which didn't come out. Which did not come out this year. However, it did come out this year. Like, it came out with a bang.
It basically came out this year.
Yeah. And Among Us, like, I think the biggest draw, especially in this year, is accessibility. In that, not only is it just as simple as one little code and everybody joins instantly. Obviously, there was server issues for a little bit. Because way too many people were playing it. But not only that, but people can do it from their phones or tablet or now even the Switch. It has complete cross-platform with no issues. Like, there's no anything to worry about with that. And I think it provided just like, I don't know, it was like this crazy draw of like the I forget what the genre is called, but like the hidden role game, I guess. That, I mean, like, you know, with
Mafia,
Werewolf, Mafia, Coup, like all those kinds of games. Those games that I mean, I know a lot of people really, really enjoy when they're with their friends. It has the same kind of draw in that, like, you get to lie to your friends. Yeah, you get to like
it's really fun.
Do these things, and then as long as you're not a tryhard, at the end of it, you get to laugh it off and be like, "Oh, remember this?" And it really, really like encapsulated, I think, like what people like look for and want in a multiplayer game, especially one that's at its core is very, very simple. Um, so
Well,
I think that it
that's
was really cool.
that's what I was gonna say is like what you said about like the try hard thing. Like honestly, like I know a lot. There's, you know, people would get really mad when somebody was try harding or not try harding, whatever. But even that social dynamic was something we needed at the time because it was like that's normal social interaction. Like if you play a board game with your friends, you always have that one friend in like Monopoly or whatever example you want to use. That's just like the guy that plays to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if it can be annoying, if it's your group of friends, like it's like almost being able to be mad at something that stupid is a good thing in that moment. Like it's still something that distracts you from everything that's going on inside.
Yeah,
At
like
least you get to feel something
really. I mean,
during this pandemic where you're locked up and
that's a
can't
bleak
see
way to
anybody.
put it, but there's something to it of being like, rather it was annoying at the time or not. After the game, it gives you something to talk about, right? Like, can you believe so and so was being such a little bitch? Like, you know, like those are normal social dynamics that all disappeared when, you know, at best, like with us, because we were all quarantining and being safe, like we're the only ones that hang out with each other in person. So like that's it. And we all get along great. So, you know, we know what to expect. Like, we're gonna sit down, watch movies and chill and have a great time. But like you get that bigger group dynamic, which is that to me that's the biggest difference between like that and Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing was like the chill thing that maybe you got on and hung out in your friend's village and you did it before bed and, you know, went to sleep and it was this nice relaxing thing. Among Us was like it's a party
Stress.
game. I mean, it didn't have to be, but it was still like a party game.
It definitely gave me headaches for sure.
Oh yeah, but like
it was fun.
It was the idea of like what happens when you go somewhere with like a group of your close friends and then some other people, like a party. You know, it gave that social interaction that was, I mean, there weren't, if you were being safe, you weren't getting that.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the biggest things is how many people like got to meet new people because of it and stuff like that. One thing I guess that with Animal Crossing, I guess the main difference, I guess, is the community. I think that one of the biggest things was, especially in the first few months after it coming out, is people sharing things, right? Like, look what I built, look what I got, like these kind of things like that whole, and then like the black market like economy and like stuff like that, like that's really, really cool that world exists for a game like that. And I do think that is something special, like being able to, you know, just be on Twitter and like see some really cool inspirations for an island or something like that and be like, oh hey, like that could be something I could go for or whatever. I think that aspect is really cool. So all right, moving on. Doom Eternal, the sequel to Doom 2016. Very good.
I have not finished it because
I actually haven't finished it either. Because I'm
6 hours in,
playing on the hardest difficulty and I'm stuck on a spot that I got too frustrated at. But
that's all right. I was Cyberpunk right now.
Yeah, so it's a blast. I think I do think that I slightly liked the 2016 one more a little bit. There was things that they added to Eternal as far as movement and some certain things with that I thought were really cool. But I think the general feel of 2016, I think I liked a little bit more. But again, it's still very, 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 very good. If you like just a fucking good time, just killing demons, running around with ridiculous guns.
And dude, and the soundtrack.
Yeah, with that music. Oh man,
it's so good, dude.
It's insane.
If you just want to jam out and like fucking kill demons and smash their heads into their sternums, and like rip their hearts out and shove in their mouths and shit, it's so good.
That's like the game. 2016 Doom, right? Like that soundtrack. I would play a video game soundtrack behind my other video game
Yeah, no,
That's
yeah,
the first time I've ever done that.
that's probably still my favorite OST. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
like
close.
it's
That
just
that and the Witcher 3 are much my top tied for my top.
Hades is actually up there for me too. It's very, very good.
Hades does have
We'll
really
talk
good music.
we'll talk about that soon. Um, but yeah, I just think that it was. I think that both games gave a really like, just this. It's like this visceral like, experience that like you just. It's just such like an adrenaline rush to like be doing these crazy movements with these like ridiculous guns and powers and these ridiculous looking monsters that you're killing, and like all while this just insane metal is playing in your ears, and it just feel like it's just like woo! Just like, yes!
It's just like you're chugging an energy drink constantly the whole time you're playing.
It's a really good time. So let's see. Next up is Valorant. Which is right game
I've been getting
shooter.
that itch again to play, but I don't want to solo queue because people suck.
Correct.
So it did. So it came out earlier this year.
The official game.
We've all played it a good amount.
Oh yeah, I played it a lot.
Very, very good amount. I think that it very much was for this year like the competitive game for me, because I always have like one that I'm playing basically, and for Dalton and I, before, a lot of like that was CS:GO for a long time, along with League of Legends, and I think Valorant has done a very, very good job of taking the inspiration and the core of a tactical shooter, and then adding a lot of character to it, both literally and figuratively. In the whether it's the art style, the music, the themes, the actual characters themselves, because I mean we've talked about this before, but at the core, even with the characters, their abilities for the most part are the same kinds of things as utility in like CS:GO. Like you have flashes, which I mean function almost the same exact way as flashbangs. You have smokes that function the same way. Obviously they have different characteristics and stuff like that, but the like the damaging abilities, like there's Molotovs and stuff like that. So they very much took on this core of like, okay, so like what makes these good, what makes them annoying, what makes them like not useful, like those kind of things, and said, hey, like, well, if we put these really interesting characters in that basically at the end of the day, like their abilities are reskins of these utility things, but they just make them look cool.
Most of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, there are, and obviously there are things like, you know, a dash or a teleport and stuff like that, and most of the ultimates that are that add a whole new element, but I think that's the part of the thing. I don't
Overwatch feel.
And I think that that's something with Valorant, is that I know that a lot of the times discussions go back to like revolutionary versus evolutionary. I think that Valorant is very much an evolutionary game in that it built on this core and said, okay, well, how can we do this different? How can we make this interesting for? And they know their audience. They knew that, you know, League of Legends players obviously like characters, like they like
skins.
Yeah, but not even just the skins, but like the lore and
yeah,
the voices and like all that stuff. They knew like kind of what could make it more unique, I guess. So
they knew that character identity was important.
for sure.
Because I mean that goes back to like talking about evolutionary versus revolutionary. Revolutionary, you're looking at like Team Fortress 2,
right.
Like that set the tone for so many shooters, and I would say that the Valorant team is and I know that there's going to be people that disagree, but comparatively they are a masterclass of balance. But I think the reason that they're so good at that is because, again, it was just an evolution of things that already existed. They didn't try to just like throw things at the wall and see what stuck. It all had a purpose. Like, well, we need smoke, so let's make smokes, but let's make them interesting. We need flashes, but let's make them interesting. And ultimates are useful, but they're toned down a little bit. Except for when like raises ult and add a billion grenades. But again, they balance that almost immediately. Like the difference between that and something like Overwatch, which is like, let's make a character that's like more ridiculous than the last one, and if we're gonna have a healer, let's have a healer that also does damage, and let's give her a sniper rifle, and she can also stun people. And it's like that has no space in a competitive shooter in my mind, and that's why I never liked Overwatch. I liked everything else about Overwatch. Like, it was fun in the way that TF2 was fun, but like it wasn't. That game never ever felt balanced, ever. Like, there's just too much. And you can jump in a Valorant game, and even if they patch everything, you're like, okay, no, this makes sense. That's his smoke. That's his flash. Like, at the most, you learn. I mean, obviously, there's like a skill cap, but you learn like what an ultimate does, and you attach to a character, and that's your character. You can master it, and you can play. Like, it's simple, but still way more interesting. Like, I can't go back and play Counter-Strike now. Like, I've tried, and I can still shoot reasonably well. It's a lot easier to shoot in that game than it is in Valorant, honestly. But like, there's not enough breaking up the repetition. It's like going back to a Call of Duty game now. That's why I can't play Call of Duty like since I played like Modern Warfare 1 and 2. Because it's just the same shit, man. Like, it's the same repetition. No matter how many times they reskin it, it's just the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one's way up there for me for this year.
Yeah. And I think that part of what you're saying about like how they were building on a core and like evolutionary and stuff like that, I think that Riot in general was pretty much founded on that, and I think it's something that they've stuck with. Like, I was listening to the How I Made This podcast, and recently they had Mark Merrill and wow, why am I spacing on his name?
The other one.
Brendan Beck. Jesus. Brendan Beck? I think it's Brendan. No, it is Brandon. Okay, Brandon Beck. Who started Riot Games. Basically, they started it because they saw Dota, which was a mod for Warcraft 3, and they said, this is dope. How can we make our version of this, but make it free and make it a business model, but also make it extremely accessible and all these things. And that just goes back to that. That goes back to the, okay, so here's this thing that we think is good. How do we do it better? Or maybe not even better, but just do it our way. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, I do think that Valorant has had its challenges as far as the competitive space, and like you said, like balancing, like it's not an easy thing to do, like at all. Like,
no,
even like having to take everything into account as far as the casual audience, the competitive audience, the way they want to run tournaments, like all that stuff. Like, it's not easy, and I do think that they've done a good job. I do miss putting a gun on Cypher's cams. That was so fucking funny. Just coming onto a site and there's just a gun floating, just like pop, pop. Like, that's just hilarious to me. But yeah.
Well, and that's why I say comparatively, I think they're a masterclass in balance. Like, I don't, I
mean, we've played League since its inception, so
yeah, and also
we have seen that game do some things.
Yeah, so I would say that's the one thing though. Like, that's the one thing I hope Valorant doesn't do that League does do, and I don't think it's a bad thing for League by any means. But League is constantly changing, and it's a purposeful thing. Like, there's no way it's not. Like, because the game this last season, as much as people like to bitch about it, and I know y'all don't play League anymore, so I've been short. It's just imperative, but like, it was the most balanced it's been in forever, and I mean that's just evident when you play solo queue. There's like, it's not.
You mean like last season or the current last one season. After? Okay, so not after this update. I mean, I basically didn't play last season at all, but I was very much interested in the things that they've been doing for this season, so I did start playing again. But
Right.
I know not everyone likes what they did, which is fair.
Well, but that's just gonna come. That's what I mean is like, so because it's constantly changing, they're always going to be pissing off one player group. Because when they made the game that balanced with that many characters, that means that there's not a meta anymore. If your character doesn't fit, I mean, there's a meta, but like it's just so much wider. And like that was great for me because, like you said, we've played since beta. So like, if an old character all of a sudden becomes good, it's like badass. I know how to play him. Let's go. But all these other people that started playing last year and learned 2 characters out of the 100 and something, like, you know,
God,
that sucks for them. You know,
and
and
they're
like
still adding more, right?
Right. And like I get that. Like, I fully understand that complaint. That's the one thing I hope Valorant doesn't do, because like shooters are so much more like, it's instant feedback because you're not worrying about so much stuff. You point and shoot. That's the core of the game. And if you screw with that too much, it starts to feel bad, because that's what happened with Overwatch. Like it becomes more like, okay, we just have to get this comp and everybody spam their ult. Like, then it's not a shooter. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing
it's like an ability game.
Yeah. I hope that they understand that. That's the only thing I worry about with that game. And it's so early still. It feels like the game's been out forever because we've put so many hours into it, but it literally came out this year.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So yeah. Let's see, moving on. Risk of Rain 2 also came out this year.
Great game.
Really, really fun. I don't know if you guys had played the first one. Did you?
I didn't.
Okay, I played a good amount of the first one and really enjoyed it, and was super stoked when they announced this. And it is those of you who don't know, it's I mean, I guess it's a roguelike, kind of in a way, but it's much more open, I guess. I'm not sure. Like, it's really interesting. So it's like a third-person shooter with these different characters, and basically you're going through levels, and as time passes, instead of like in a lot where it's like, you know, as you get farther in stages, it gets more difficult, but it's based on time. So how much time you're spending on each level kind of determines how difficult the monsters will be when you go to the next level, and like all this stuff. And it's a really, really cool way to kind of do that, for one thing. But it's also just really, really fun, and like it's easy to spend a lot of time on, especially with friends. So
yeah. You have to like strategize when you're gonna move on to the next level. Like, you can't just like run around and loot forever, no matter how much you want to, because then the next level will be like infinitely hard and you just will die.
Yeah.
So I really like that aspect where you have to like be checking the time all the time. You're like, and then you have to, sometimes you can't fucking find the teleporter, and it pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the goddamn teleporter? But Risk of Rain 2 is very good. Sometimes I'll just pick it up and play like one round, and then that's it. Like, it's just like super easy to pick up and just play a little bit and tuck it away again.
Yeah.
Really fun game.
Yeah. And then my pick for the year, and something that I think is just a blessing as far as games go, is Hades. And I think that Hades is probably the most fun I've had with a video game in a very, very long time. And I think that it's one of the most fun games for like just almost anyone. It is at its core, I mean, it's a roguelike. It's a somewhat grindy game. However, they did this amazing thing where they enveloped it in this story that you are invested in, and these incredible characters, and this brilliant voice acting and music and all these things in this world that get you to want to come back and play it. That it's not just about like the end goal, it's also about like how can I build this relationship, how can I do this, so even if you're not focused on like, you know, what's the best build, or what's the best way to finish it this time, or whatever, there's still something there. And I mean, like, even down to like being able to customize your like home that you live in and like stuff like that, and being able to get those unlocks, like there's definitely a lot more motivation to play it. And it's also just a really, really good roguelike. And like all the weapons have their own like fun ways to use them, and the different boons and stuff like that kind of power you up as you're going through your run. And I think the first time I finished a run was like one of the coolest things, like, and every time I go back and do it with a different build, I'm like, wow, that was really fun. Like, I want to try something else now, and like whatever. So
Yeah, I've played like 6 hours of Hades, and it's like it's really good. It's a really fun game. Definitely pick it up, and it's only $20. Like,
yeah, it's also like a cheap one. I mean,
it's
I
really
think
good.
Supergiant does a good job of that in general. All of their games are pretty easy to pick up and kind of enjoy, even if you don't finish them or like whatever. But yeah, it's just so good, and it's also super horny. All of the characters are mega
It is
horny.
very horny.
So
Very horny video game.
but it is absolutely like if I was to suggest like anyone to play a game from this year, it's gonna be that one. And they just officially put out the cross save feature for Switch, so I bought it again for Switch, and I can play on the same save file now, so that's awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't picked it up, but it's not that I don't want to play it. It's just too many other games.
Yeah, there's a lot of games out.
And I'm actually happy I waited, because now that it's on Switch, I'm just gonna buy it on Switch.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It plays great on Switch. It like
Yeah, it probably is
no
a really
issues.
good
Like, so I like that, and I was only waiting to buy it on Switch for the cross save because I've already put so much time in on PC that I would love to be able to play the same save file. So yeah. All right. So what other games? I have some honorable mentions, but I don't know if there's anything else. Like I know one that you're gonna talk about. So
Yeah.
I let him
I'll
go
go right
first because
now.
I know what it is. Yeah, go for it.
My game of the year for sure is Last of Us Part 2. I know everybody's adverse opinions about Neil Druckmann.
that guy sucks.
He's definitely an asshole, probably. But I played
Okay,
The Last of Us. Go.
no, and I say that fully understanding why people like this game and why you like this game. I watched you play this game literally over and over when you were trying to do the no death runs, and
Gosh, it was so hard.
and like and even just with the game itself, not even like just with those runs, but I can see like very much why that game is like it's a good game.
Yeah.
And the same with the first one. Like I think I watched most of the first one too. My thing is that it's really, really hard for me to get into games like that nowadays. But again, I totally understand. But sorry, continue.
So the first one came out, I think, in 2014. So I was in high school, like early high school, and I like really connected with Ellie because she was like the same age as me basically, and I just like loved the dynamic that Joel and Ellie had. And then in part 2, when spoiler alert, the bad
It's
shit
been long
happened.
enough.
I know it's been
Yeah.
long enough. Yeah, dude, that shit fucked me up so hard. Like, cause I avoided spoilers. Well, I didn't actually. I saw one person reply to a tweet from Alana on Twitter like 2 months before the game came out. It just said Joel dies, and I was just like fuck. But I didn't. My brain just like completely blocked it out of my memory because when I started the game up, I was so excited that I didn't remember like anything that I had read prior to. And it's just such an incredible story, and like I cried so many times. It's like I love crying. Crying feels so good. Being sad feels good. Um, but yeah, that game. Those two games, I don't know what will ever top those games for me. Like that series is number one on my list of all time for sure, and I don't know when it's gonna get taken over or if it will. Um, but yeah, the Abby storyline. I know people hate Abby or whatever because she killed Joel. I think that's a really like stupid way to look at it. Um, but because there's two sides to every story. It's the whole fucking point.
That's the whole point of the.
So I think her side of the story did drag on a little bit, but it really helped having the two side characters of Lev and Yara that were added in. Like their whole, like Abby's story. Abby became for Lev what Joel and Ellie were in the first game, and they had like the same kind of dynamic. And it was like Abby was this like super beefed up like asshole basically that was out to kill this dude, but in her heart she really had a soft spot for like this kid who was like abandoned basically by his like tribe. And I think they do a really good job in that game as well of being an SJW video game. And having that had really good like like commentary on like trans lives and stuff like that. I think it was really well done.
Fucking libtards. What?
Fucking libtards. But politics in my video game.
No, again, like I totally like see what the draw is of those games because like I really enjoy a good story. I think I just struggle with it. I struggle with more linear games nowadays, I guess I would say.
Yeah. It's a time investment too. Like that, it's like that game is so long. Like you get to one part in the game where everything is like calming down, and you're like, it's like a really long cutscene, and like halfway through, shit starts to pick up again. And you're like, oh, there's more, and it's like another 6 hours. And you're like, oh my god, it just keeps going. So it's definitely, I definitely think it was a little bit too long. But I still love it so much. I think I played it. I think I did my second playthrough like a week after I finished it the first time. I was just like, fuck, I need to play it again.
I mean, I played the first one a lot. That was one of those, like you said, well, kind of for both points. Like you said, because of the age you were at, you related a lot to the characters.
Mm.
It wasn't only that for me, but like what Jay was saying, it's harder to play linear games like that. When I was a kid, it was easier because, well, I'm old, but internet sucked. So when you played video games with friends, you'd play linear like single player games with your friends. Like you would just sit down and play through a game together. And those were the memories I had with that. So that made that first game even more like, when shit went down, you had your buddy next to you like, what the fuck?
That, like freaking out.
And I don't have a problem with linear games anymore. I can sit down and play through like a story-driven game, no problem. I just I didn't have an urge to play a console game at the time. I'm so comfortable at my computer that like it seems stupid and like a first world problem, but like I didn't want to go plug in my old PS4 and like experience the game because it's a cinematic game. Like it's a movie and a game. And like it would have looked like shit.
In the prologue, I'm pretty sure there's like 20 minutes of straight cutscenes. Like,
but I mean,
no gameplay at all.
The great thing about this day and age is I just get to like watch people play it. Like I've seen the whole game. I've watched the entire game through.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of love for those games, even though I didn't play the second one. But it's kind of funny because as I got it spoiled for me too, the Joel part. But like, I kind of expected that, honestly, because that just seemed like the most poignant thing they could do in the second one. And and obviously there's plenty of surprises in the game to keep you hooked, but like that made sense to me. And like as I watched it, I was like, oh, people are gonna shit on this game.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be
Yeah.
pissed. But the way I looked at it was like, and I watched all of the Walking Dead TV show, right? And it got terrible like at some points. Like that show had ups and downs all over the place.
I stopped at Negan, so
Yeah. But what this game did that The Walking Dead always tried to do was exactly what you said, was show that there's always two sides to every story. Like, and you saw the exact same thing. Like you would see like, well, he was a bad guy. How can he be a good guy? It's like, well,
yeah,
bad guys never think they're the bad guys. Like that's just like an old like 80s movies like action idea, like that, like, oh, I'm the bad guy, I'm gonna take over the world because I'm the bad guy. Like a good story doesn't have a bad guy like that. Like they just think that they're doing either what they have to do or whatever. And I saw that blowing up on Twitter of everybody so pissed off at that game. I'm like, oh great, everybody missed the point. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
And
it
also
really
sucks that people were just like, there's a good guy and a bad guy, but there's no villain in the game.
No.
It's just like,
it's just people in
it's
shit
just people,
situations.
and it's just like, that's why I think that's really why I love the game, is because it's literally just telling a story about like two different people's experiences in this fictional world, obviously. But super side tangent, that's also why The Leftovers on HBO is one of my favorite shows, is because there's no like villain or bad guy or anything like that. It's just like these people going through this apocalyptic scenario, and it's all of their stories and how all of their storylines like tie up together. If you haven't seen The Leftovers, it came out like, I don't know, like 6 years ago or something on HBO. Fucking incredible show. Watch it. It's so good.
And also, I agree, Neil Druckmann is an ass, but sometimes the most egotistical people can make some really beautiful things.
Yep.
And that's just the way the world works, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely said some dumb shit.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else? Dalton, did you have any other?
I mean,
Of the year.
we covered most of the games I really enjoyed this year. I guess my honorable mention didn't technically come out this year, but it kind of blew up this year, sort of like Among Us.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out at the end of 2019, I believe. So it almost counts. But Disco Elysium.
Oh.
Talking about like
I think that's on my Steam wish list.
That it's hard to even really call it
is.
call it a game. That's an experience. And that sounds like the most like hoity-toity bullshit you can ever say, but like
No, I love that like description for stuff.
it's an RPG, but there's not really any combat. It's mostly reading. It's basically like a really good interactive book. And it's just that is probably one of the best written games I've played in the last, since I can like remember like old school RPGs I loved as a kid. Like it's insane the amount of detail and polish they put in that. Just amazing. And it is fun. Like don't get me wrong, it's not just like reading a book. You do interact quite a bit, but like without spoiling anything for anybody that's curious about it, if you're
I want to play it, so please don't spoil it.
No, I'm not gonna spoil anything. It's actually kind of hard to spoil, but the concept of the game is it's in the an alternate future kind of. I say that in the way of like the way Fallout is. Like everything looks like it's from like the 60s and 50s, like or even before that, but it's technically in the future. I guess almost steampunky. But you're a police officer that just wakes up in a hotel room and you don't remember anything. And your first like quest is piecing together the room you're in. And like you make a character, like you give yourself stats at the beginning and you level up and you put points in the stats, but all the stats are like, you'll have like attributes of like body, mind, like empathy and stuff like that. And then there's like 12 skills within each one of those. So you're leveling everything from like your reflexes to like your, you know, passive perception to like your ability to recall historical facts. Rather, you have a photographic memory. You build a human. Like all the skills are related to the parts of the brain or the body that it like influences. Like
Dude, I'm gonna buy this like right now.
And
sounds really sick.
You just wake up with no idea who you are or what's going on, and you just go. And there's no direction really. Like it still has like a quest log and stuff, so it helps you keep track of everything. But like you just stumble through everything, and you can make this guy the biggest piece of shit you want. Like, and it's to the point that like, say you don't put enough points into whatever the stat was to be like your mental fortitude, basically. You like your character passed out drunk, and if you don't have enough mental fortitude, you have to play the rest of the game like as an alcoholic. So at any point, like if you see a bottle of booze, like your psyche starts talking to you and you get in your own head, and like you have to like make a roll to see if you can resist licking alcohol off of a table because you're so like deprived of alcohol. Like it's
I'm literally gonna buy this.
If your fortitude's high enough, you can drink the alcohol, resist blacking out drunk, and it gives you a buff because now you're in your groovy drunk stage and you're like a good cop.
Yeah, you're
like
buzzed. You're good.
Right. So like the whole game is like that. Like it's just, and if you really fail, cool. You fail. Like you can save and reload. There is like I think there's a mode you can play in where you can't do that, but like it's very Iron much Man. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's a slow burn because like I said, it's very much like a book. There's a lot of political commentary and like it's a very interesting game. And the main reason I wanted to bring that up is they just announced I think with the Game Awards they're doing like a final cut, which is a free upgrade. So if you bought it now, you get the final cut for free, but it's adds more quests, and I think they're adding full voice overs for the entire game because right now it's only like the key points. Because I mean it's a lot of text. So but they apparently went through and the whole game's gonna be voice acted.
Holy shit, that's crazy. Fucking tight. Hell yeah.
So that's my it's pretty high up there for like best games I played this year, and I don't think I even finished it, but I've got a lot of time in it. But like I said, it's such a slow burn. Like you're just I'm the type of person that like when I play a game I read everything and pay attention to everything.
Yeah. This got me thinking about story games. They didn't come out this year. Well, one of them actually may have. Let me see. 2019. So, if you haven't played Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, dude, great game. Such a fucking good game.
Great game.
When I picked this up, I was absolutely blown away. Like the psychosis like kind of thing that it does, and like it literally sounds like you have voices in your head, and it's just like surrounding you, and like the whole story. That game is so good. I played it in January of this year, so if you have not played that game, and there's a second one coming out, it's only coming out on Xbox, and I'm pissed about it. Well, I really want to play that.
But everything that comes out on Xbox now, technically, you can play on PC.
Oh, that's true.
believe.
Yeah.
That is true.
You'll have to use their shitty client, I'm sure. But,
yeah.
But yeah, that game's great. Well. Also, visually, fucking.
Yeah, fantastic. It's just a really incredible game. Definitely play that. And then there's another one that was like, I don't know if y'all heard of it. It's called A Plague Tale: Innocence.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Have not played it, but
I think I remember watching you.
Yeah, I streamed it a little bit. It's very good, really good story, really interesting combat and like stealth mechanics. Mm-hmm. You have like a slingshot, or like a thing where you twirl a rock and you like sling it at people's head. Like really interesting and like pretty unique. Like boss mechanics and stuff, and the story is very good. Definitely try that game out if you haven't. Really good. And then my last honorable mention would be Crusader Kings 3. I haven't played it in a long time, but when it first came out, I have over 100 hours in it, and that was probably within like 3 weeks. It was like probably like 25 hours of that is just learning the game, and I probably still haven't even learned the entirety of the game because there's so much shit. It's crazy. But it is a super fun like simulation, like literally do whatever the hell you want game. Like you just start as like the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, or play as the Pope and like dismantle Christianity and convert to a entirely different religion, and like convert Europe into this, like, I don't know, like a Muslim empire, or like anything, a satanic empire, whatever it is. It's
Fuck yeah.
really really cool game.
So I have a few honorable mentions that I want to just briefly touch on. So Teamfight Tactics came out this year, which is a auto battler from Riot
It did?
plays. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the longest year of my life.
I know, man. It's crazy.
I think that they had beta before. I think it was no, because it didn't release until June. Yeah, I think it was just beta before. And I think auto battlers in general did a lot for me this year, like even with Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And actually, I guess kind of tied to that is Runeterra, Legends of Runeterra. I played a decent amount too. But like just little games that I could just kind of go back to whenever, and play really quick and not have to like really invest too much into them. For those of you who don't know, auto battler games are basically you have units on a board, and so for the League of Legends version, it's the different characters from the game, the champions, and they have their abilities and all these things, and there's different mechanics to go with that. You can give them items, all this stuff. Basically, you're basically just you're facing off against 7 other people, and you are trying to have your board beat their board. That's the main objective. And obviously there's a lot more nuance, but it's really simple, it's really fun, and it's was a good little time sink. Also, the Street Fighter V Champion Edition, not expansion, I don't really know how to, it was basically just a big update that added a bunch of stuff to the game, and kind of led the way for what they're doing in the future and what they still are going to be doing with the game. And kind of got me back into it, and I've been playing more of it again. So that's good. And then Ghost Runner, which is a...
Did you ever finish it?
No, I haven't finished it yet. Really, really, really fun. It is, I think, Mirror's Edge, but more focused on combat. There's a lot of wall running mechanics, slowing down time, doing this, but you're doing it all with like a fucking sword and like slashing the shit out of people. And it's really, really fun. It's fast paced. It's a nice little treat. But yeah, that's all I had for games. I guess I did want to touch also on music a little bit, and so kind of some of the ones that for me this year stood out, and that I actively like have been listening to, even months after or whatever. And for me, those ones are Nectar from Joji, RTJ4. Circles, the Mac Miller album that came out, R.I.P. Unlocked from Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats, and then
was that the album you played in the car when we were on the way to Corpus?
Yes,
very good album.
That's
I
one
like
of my favorites.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it is.
And then Dedicated Side B from Carly Rae Jepsen, which I know is the the ugly duckling of the group, if you will.
The antithesis of
But
everything else you just listed.
Holy shit, does it rule! I absolutely love it. But yeah, so Nectar from Joji, very much a like vibey ass album. Just has it really, really shows how much Joji has kind of evolved over time, and how good he is, I think, as an artist. has some really cool vocal points, has some just really good musically and stuff like that. RTJ4 just it's run the jewels. It fucking rules. Their online concert they did was so sick, and yeah, it's really good. If you like solid rap music that can get in your face about political issues and stuff like that, it's really good. Circles is a interesting project that Mac Miller was working on before he did pass away, and it is, again, I mean, it's Mac Miller. There's some, there's slower songs, there's some R&B vibes, there's all this different stuff that he does kind of throughout the album that just like it flows really well, and there are some songs on there that are really stand out. Unlocked from Denzel and Kenny. First of all, Denzel Curry is my favorite rapper. I think that this album solidified him as my favorite rapper. He's
so good live.
He just fucking hits, man. Like, I don't even know. Like, and then when I found out, because I love Kenny Beats, he's fucking hilarious. His YouTube channel is great. Like, his Twitch streams are fucking fantastic. Like, he's just like probably one of the best like personalities, I guess, in like as far as music producing, like, and stuff like that. And also he just makes good stuff. So it's a shorter album. All the songs are short. They're not drawn out anything. Like, it's very much to the point. It's very thematic. They did like basically like a short film that when they first released it, and it's like this whole scene like with different types of animation and stuff like that of them trying to like recover these songs that were leaked, basically. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's just really good. And then dedicated side B, well, it's the side B of her other I guess it's not actually technically, it's an album, it's a EP, no, LP. I don't remember. I always forget which one. Difference I always forget. They're different lengths, if I remember correctly, but I forget which one. But it has some of my favorite songs from her. Like, it's very good.
Is it like pop? Is it just like pop music?
Yeah. But she, yes, it is pop music. But she has a lot of influences from, like, there's like disco and like, I don't even know, man. Like, yeah, like just some real good, it's real good feeling, and the subject matter that she talks about and things like that is still like very much influential and things like that to what she wants to do. Oh no, I'm sorry. This one is a full album. Yeah. Also, there's 2 bonus tracks on the Japanese edition, which is really interesting, that I didn't know about till just now. But
the fuck?
Yeah. So, yeah. What about you guys for music?
Don, you, me.
I mean, mine's fairly short because it's a lot of the same. My most played album was definitely RTJ4, by far. I'm trying to think what else. Prof's new album, I forgot the name of it, called Powderhorn Suites. Listen to that one quite a bit. It's not the best album, but it's got a couple songs I like. Mastodon's new album, also not their best work, but I'll always listen to a Mastodon album, so I played that quite a bit. Joji, Denzel Curry, the same thing. Lamb of God's new album. I'll raise you your one pop pick. I listen to Chris Stapleton's album a lot. That's my outlier there. The rest of it was just a bunch of metal that nobody's gonna really care or know about.
Literally, like, basically all of mine.
Yeah.
And Suicide Boys.
I feel like that was kind of it. It's weird. This year it feels like it drug on forever, but it's like somehow I managed to listen to the same music the entire year. I feel like,
Pretty much
I don't.
same.
Yeah, it's like
I have difficulty branching out with my music.
I don't have difficulty branching out. It's that when I listen to new music, I pay too much attention. So like it has to be something that I sit down and do. But if I'm just gonna sit down at my computer and I want music in the background, I'm just gonna play the album that I've been playing. Like I just put it on whatever playlist it is, and then that's what keeps me from picking up new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like 6 out of my like however many 8 I think that that Spotify makes, like the daily mixes, are almost the same thing. Like it's like Suicide Boys, Denzel Curry, fucking Smino in there, got some Amine, like stuff like that, but like at the core, like they're all very similar.
That's what I was trying to think of. Unleash the Archers album. It's also metal, but that shit, there's that is the most talented bunch of fuckers I've ever met in my life, and their last 2 or 3 albums have just been so good that like it's rare I get even though I listen to a ton of metal, I jump around so much. It's rare that I get a metal album that I'll just play through over and over again, and they're one of the bands that I can actually do that. And female vocals, which is also something that in metal I don't. Well, it's kind of rare, but also like the fact that I liked it that much. It's very power metal too, which I don't really listen to normally, but it's just so damn good that like
Female vocals are the shit.
yeah, she's and oof. But it was up there with like I think the reason, because power metal is normally just it's so fast and up tempo all the time. It's kind of in the same thing as like the 2016 Doom music. Like I would play a video game and it just fits so well for that like that would just play on repeat in the background while I'm playing games all the time. Like that's so I had a lot of that played and listened to this year as well. But yeah, that's about it for music. Like I said, I'm not gonna list off 40 metal bands that nobody.
Yeah. Of course, for me, Suicide Boys, their most recent album dropped this year, which is really good.
Wait, which one? Wait, they had one this year?
Yeah, Stop Staring at the Shadows. It was like February, I think. The purple one.
I guess I didn't even realize that was this year.
Yeah, I think it was
so
this
early.
year.
Okay,
Pretty
that one's
sure
probably up there for me too then.
But especially the last song on that album is really fucking good. It's my top song of the whole year. Like it was on Spotify, my Wrapped playlist. It's my #1 song. I think out of my top 5, I think 3 songs from that album are my top 5. And then Scrim, one member of that group, released a solo album this year, solo project, and it's also really, really good. But yeah, fucking Suicide Boys, I love them a lot. But this year and like the end of last year, I really started to get into like more experimental like noise and metal, and like black metal and like doom metal. I found, or my friend recommended me Lingua Ignota. She's more like, she doesn't really have like a genre. She just has like elements. She has elements of like classical music, like noise, metal, like all this stuff. And her songs are really fucking powerful, and they're like an experience when you listen to them. Like I can literally just it didn't come out this year, but I can literally just throw headphones on, crank the volume, and lay down in my bed and just listen to her most recent album all the way through. And it's just an experience. It's what it is. It's crazy. It's so good. And then she also has this little like side project called Sightless Pit with from one of the members of The Body, and then another member of Full of Hell. And that album is like, that's a trip. That album's a trip. It's so good. Definitely try out Sightless Pit. I think you would like it, Dalton. It's really good. Do y'all know who Clipping is? It's a rap group.
That sounds familiar.
It's I think you probably know him. It's David Diggs. I think he's an actor as well.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and then he works with two other guys that do like music production and shit. They dropped an album this year, and they do a lot of like, there's a lot of political commentary in their music, as well as like, uh, they take a lot of stuff from like horror movies, like samples from that kind of theme, and he just his like flow is so fucking good,
Yep.
and he just like tells stories basically in all these songs, and there's one song in particular that I listen to a lot because it's really fucking it's so cool what they did. I watched an interview with them, and they said it took them like months to perfect this. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. Let me find it real quick.
The reason that sounded familiar is I picked them up off of Run the Jewels radio because
Oh,
political part. Yeah, but yeah, they're dope.
It's from their newest album. I don't remember which song it is, but they're like throughout the song he's just rapping, and like a beat will occasionally come in, and it fits perfectly, like it's on beat and everything, and it's of a car that's like driving by, and it's like 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds of this beat going, and it's right on beat, and it literally just sounds like a car driving by, and it's the song like playing in the background. It's just 2 to 3 seconds, like every 45 seconds or so for the first 3 minutes of the song, and it's just it's such a cool thing that they did with that song. And then once it gets to I forget what the name of the female artist in that song, but she absolutely kills it in the second part. And then the whole beat like plays through at the end of the song. It's really, really talented group. And then a black metal artist that I really like just came out with an album recently. I think it was within like the last month. Liturgy. She is really fucking good, really talented. Super good album. Yeah, those are my top picks for sure for this year.
sweet. Anything else?
Did we talk about Tenet?
I mean, yes,
We mentioned it.
we did. We talked as much as we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
there's
now.
the ugly duckling of the gaming universe.
Oh, that's right. We were gonna talk about a little bit about Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, we are.
Uh,
Because we did, and then
yeah, shut
episode.
up. The game that Amma decided was a good idea to install on his external hard drive.
Shut up, man. I
to start
fixed
out.
it. I
Yeah,
didn't tell
because
you,
I
Dalton,
told you
fixed it.
to. And guess what,
Yeah,
Dalton? It
you
works
did.
now. Great.
It works now. It's great. My things load, and there's not just polygon
Shapes.
cars skating across the road anymore.
Okay, but also, I mean, I'm sure that was partially the hard drive issue, but also I had that before the second patch that rolled out. That fixed all of that for me. when
Yeah,
they did that.
the each patch that they're
They did
doing
for me,
is
so.
slowly improving performance. And they've done 2 now. So, yes.
Yeah, they just released a hot fix.
Okay, so obviously to get out of the way, the game's not fucking done. It's just not. Like, that's
Yeah.
just cut and dry. It's just not. That is not the developer's fault. That is the people that told them to release it, who were listening to you fucking morons on the internet telling them to release it. So shut the fuck up. God, it's actually so frustrating that I still have to read on my fucking Twitter timeline people complaining that it's not done when they were the same people complaining that wasn't released out yet. Like, I don't get it. But anyways, all that aside, I have played basically 50 hours. I haven't played in a couple days, but I finished one playthrough that was kind of feeling out the general game, and I wanted to play through the story and kind of see what everything was about and whatever. And that was about 36 hours. And then I started a new character, so I have about 14 hours on the new character. I am really enjoying the game. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. I think it's the kind of game that I expected. It's actually probably better than I expected, honestly. I think I'm actually having more fun than I thought I would.
Because you had reasonable expectations.
Yeah, exactly. I
You didn't
didn't
think
think
that this game was going to cure the coronavirus or
yeah,
end world
and
hunger or
save mankind somehow.
yeah.
I I knew that CD Projekt Red could make a good game, so I expected a good game. Again, it's not done, and I totally understand if you want to wait until it's fully done to play it. That's totally understandable. It is pretty wild that Sony and I don't even know if did Steam do it too. Removed it from the store.
No.
Okay.
No, Steam did it. It was just
Because the
PlayStation.
PC version functions.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I guess that is the main, like, one of the main quarrels is that it doesn't, it's garbage on last gen consoles.
Yeah,
which,
last gen is having a rough
again,
time.
yeah, no duh. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I have no sympathy if you saw that game and said, "Oh yeah, that'll look like that on my PS4." Like,
Yeah.
no, it just won't.
Yeah.
Like, with how massive it is and everything like that, like those type of games rarely keep up.
I have sympathy to the point that it's literally unplayable. But if you're playing that it looks, if you're
right,
if you're complaining about like,
Why does it look like it's running on a 3080 on a PC?
Yeah.
That's an irrelevant argument. Like you're dumb. But I do understand, and I honestly, I don't disagree with Sony taking it off the store actually, because of how poorly it ran on consoles. I disagree that they did it without any it was just handled so poorly. This is a broken game right now, so we're going to temporarily take it off the store until it functions correctly. And the refund thing was also listen, think about all the games that have come out in the past that were completely busted and you were just screwed. There was no refund system. There was nothing. And the company came out within the first week and said, refunds, we'll give you refunds. Like,
yeah, that's like unheard of.
I'm not saying it excuses the fact that they released a game on consoles that is it was even unplayable for a lot of like PS5 at some stages, like some of the bugs.
But I don't know though, because I've talked to people who are actively playing it on their last gen consoles, and they're like, yeah, it doesn't look great, but it plays like I'm still playing it. So like, it can't be that bad. Like, yes, I get that there's bugs, and I get that certain parts are broken, and they're actively patching those, and like things that stop progression and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that fucking sucks. But that's not everyone's
that happens
experience.
In every game.
And yeah, and then like, especially if you compare it to like No Man's Sky or even fucking Skyrim that has been out for I don't even know how long, and still
bugs, by the way,
is still broken as hell. Like, it just is.
Very broken.
Like that, and even Fallout games. Like, even you play Fallout. What was the last one to come out before 76? Was it 4? It was the fourth one. Yeah, Fallout 4. Like, that game still has fucking bugs. These open world type games where you are actively deciding where to go, who to talk to, who to interact with, who to kill, what things to move, like all that shit. Like, dude, there's so many moving parts. Like, there's no way and there's no way that they ever completely fix it. Like, that's just impossible. It's never going to be completely bugless.
No.
But I do understand that there are quarrels with, like I said, stopping progression and things like that. Those things need to be fixed, and they are fixing them. And that's why
I'm sorry.
No, that's why I understand if people want to wait until after those are fixed to then buy it. That's totally understandable.
I mean, even the stopping the progression thing, that still comes down to like, it's not going to be 100% that it happens for everybody, right? So like, I don't think that they needed to remove it because of that. Like, some people are going to have the bugs, some people aren't. You have to wait till it's fixed. That's life.
Yeah.
My thing was more like, when you see the level of and the consistency of the really bad bugs, that's the reason that I said, like, I understand why they were like, we need to stop people from buying this just to put the fire out for a little bit.
Right. And I don't necessarily disagree with them removing it from the store. I just think that, like, it was just like
abrupt,
wild how it happened, poorly. I guess. Yeah.
Didn't they also remove it from the store just to like help the refund process like move more quickly.
Yeah.
Because if they had like more people buying the game and more people just refunding it, it would just be like an endless cycle.
Yeah.
So.
But and yeah, I agree. Otherwise, like I don't understand how so many people have gone through open world games. I guess because there hasn't been one that's come out in a long time that's been on this scale, and the last one that came out on this scale was probably Red Dead Redemption 2, I guess, and that game was in development for fucking
a long time.
ever. Like, I mean, that's what it takes. If you're, and that game had bugs too, but like it still ran, you know, that game I haven't even played much of it. My dad plays it. I haven't actually played but maybe 15 minutes of it. But like, I mean, I don't even really care that much about that game. And the Wild West setting doesn't really do much for me, but like I can see the effort and work that went put into it. Like, I get it. And it's amazing that that game runs as well as it does. But again, it had like double the development time of Cyberpunk. So, you know, don't bitch when you cut the development time in half and then it doesn't come out the way you want. But what I wanted to talk about more than that was the actually most of the blame outside of the bugs I want to put on was actually how damn well they marketed the game for what it really is. Because my expectations didn't get that high because I know what a video game is. Like, I didn't expect the fucking alternate reality I got to jump in. But like, I understand where like, especially kids lost their minds over, because like they marketed something that was fucking ridiculous compared to like what I would argue what's even possible. Like, especially in the time frame they had to put the game out. But I love the game because I see, you know, as a big Witcher 3 fanboy, Witcher fanboy in general, like I can see all of the writers that worked on The Witcher in Cyberpunk. I can see the quest structuring, how just amazing the story is. It's all there. It feels like a CD Projekt Red game. It feels amazing. The things that bother me about the game are like, it's way more shallow than The Witcher was. As far as like the world on a surface level is amazing, and as soon as you start digging under the surface, there's really not much there. The story's great, the main story, the side quests, all that great, but like the actual like world building and time you put in, I can tell that's the part that got cut in development. That's the part that they didn't have the time to put into, and that's the really only big disappointment I have in it. Is like, I'm sad that it doesn't have that little extra bit of polish that The Witcher 3 had, because like even when it comes down to like NPCs, like the ones that are just like on the street, there's so much less polish in them. And I don't expect I didn't expect every person walking by to have something interesting to say. You're in a city. That's physically impossible. They couldn't there's no way.
Yeah.
But in the entire game, as far as NPCs that say interesting stuff around the city, I can count them on two hands. Like, if they're not part of a quest, there's no there's no guy on the corner that's doing something funny. There's there's a couple, but like I'm saying,
there's a couple, but
there's like
in The Witcher, right? Yeah, but like in The Witcher, every time you walked into anything that was populated, the NPCs were doing something. They were busy. They were like it felt like they were alive because they were all scripted to do things around you, and it's not there in Cyberpunk, and that I know it pisses a lot of people off. And I do actually really get that, because the more time you spend, like I'm on my second playthrough and I'm clearing the whole fucking map, I'm doing everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do on mine too.
The more time you go and you realize as soon as you get rid of the little thing on the map and then you step back and you look at the city, it's just people walking. There's no clatter. There's no talking. The only thing that's talking is the advertisements that are on repeat. And it's things like that I'm like, this is where I'm mad that shit got rushed right here. I don't care about the graphical bugs because those are going to get fixed. I don't care about any of that. That's the thing that disappoints me. That's the only real disappointment I have in the game, is like, because I can go back and play The Witcher now and I can walk into a town and it feels fresh because oh yeah, there's the guy that was dealing with this. It's not a quest. It's not anything. You just hear him talking about like his wife being a bitch or something. Like there's just these little things going on everywhere that make it feel alive, you know? And that's just that was my I made a Twitter post about it. Like it just sucks that like the city is so beautiful and it feels so alive until like you get past that like shallow point and you start, you know, looking around at like what's really going on. Like the shot
you start to like empty out the city.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of because when you're first clearing out the map and like doing like there's always like the, you know, like you can intervene on like the different like situations that are going on with the gangs and like, you know, whatever, like stuff like that. I mean, there have been things. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like even like characters that you feel like you should be able to interact with. Like, for instance, there's always a net runner that's standing outside of Vic's like shop and like out there, and like he looks like a character you should be able to interact with and like talk with because he's just a net runner that's just standing there, and it's like, well, why can't I have a conversation with him, like that kind of thing.
But that's what I mean. Like I see that and I think knowing what they've done before in games, that's a part that was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like maybe, and again, it maybe wasn't a quest, it maybe wasn't, you know, but he probably had lines, he probably had some sort of, he was fiddling with something, doing something. Because that's all I really wanted was just like, it kind of goes back to like an example I saw somebody give is like even in Grand Theft Auto, it's the same thing, right? There's just NPCs walking down the street. It's no different. Like it's they're, but then you see like there will be a guy working on his car, and then like the cops will like something will happen, and the cops will get triggered, and they'll like a gunfight will pop out or something. In Cyberpunk, that doesn't really happen. A blip just pops up on the map, and then the cops show up and they're shooting, and then everything explodes and it's done. And it's like it feels just not finished. Like I see the idea, I see what they wanted there. It all makes sense. And it's just not there because I feel like those are the parts that they rushed, and it sucks because that's like those little
things. The extra shit that counts.
It's the small touches on a game like that and how it should be fleshed out. And now that being said, I think that there is a ridiculous amount of content in this game, and there is a ton of shit to do, and it is very cool and very easy to get lost in. A lot of the side missions have really, really cool, like interesting characters and like stuff you kind of like.
Are really engaging.
Yeah, like there's like one where like there's these monks and they're brothers, and like they like by their religion they're not supposed to get cyber augments, and so you find one and he has cyber augments, and you're like, what the fuck, like you're a monk, aren't you, like whatever. And he's like, yeah, they have my brother now and they're gonna do it to him too, like can you save, like that's like a cool little like kind of nod thing. And or like the dude who has a mechanical dick and it breaks and you have to drive him to the hospital,
or
like,
or the Office reference.
Yep, the Office one, like like fucking finding Kojima in the game, and fucking Guillermo del Toro, and like it's just, I mean, it's a really, really cool world, and there's a lot to it, and I think the story's satisfying enough.
I think the story's actually I think it's phenomenal for the world it's in, because I think people forget, like, yes, this is a fantasy world, but it's really hard to write a fantasy world that's rooted in reality comparison to The Witcher, where it's like you can just throw
like
whatever you
actual
want.
fantasy.
Like fucking put a dragon in there, who cares? Oh, that's epic. Like Cyberpunk, you have to really fucking dig to get some like cool shit, and they did.
Yeah, like and the variance in story and the choices you make and things like that. Like Dalton and I were talking about like our endings and stuff like that, depending on how like what we chose and stuff, and it was really cool to hear like kind of the different possibilities, and that's only like 2 variations. And like the small things with like your life path, like the little, like when I was playing my corpo character, like some of the corpo like dialogue choices were really interesting, and like actually I was like, oh yeah, like that does make sense that I would know that or whatever. And the same thing now, I'm playing as a street kid, and like there's some certain interactions where I'm like, oh yeah, that does kind of make sense that my character would be aware of this, whereas other characters wouldn't or whatever. And so that there are some small things that they did, have time to polish on and do feel good. I think that the skill trees are pretty cool. Like the way that you invest in them is I think a pretty decent system. There might be some balance things there, but it
Hacking
definitely
busted.
well, but I mean, there's certain melee builds that you can literally just one shot anything in the game.
Oh
Like,
no, yeah.
So it definitely feels rewarding to play the way that like in a focused way instead of just like getting everything and just being all around good, which I think is good for a game like that.
Yeah.
Because if you can just do everything, then that doesn't feel like you're playing a unique character. And I think that does encourage like replayability, and that like I said, like with my first character, I was a corpo. I was like pure melee, like with a shit ton of health and armor, and like just went around punching the shit out of stuff. And that was really fun. But then like I looked more into the trees and I was like, damn, okay, like maybe my next character I could focus on this. I'm doing like pistols and hacking and stuff like that, and it definitely kind of rewards that like unique play style, I would say, a good amount. So,
And there's like I said, I don't really give a shit about the visual bugs. They've already admitted that there's bugs in the AI. I hope that they get those fixed soon, because I didn't really notice them when I did my stealth character, because stealth interacts pretty smoothly. They patrol randomly, it seems like, so you're always on your toes. It feels really good. My hacking character, I unfortunately made pretty much, like, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, and I made all the content completely irrelevant, like fighting stuff. Like, no, like legitimately, like, like gigs that you get your mission and you go in. Normally it's in a building or something. I can literally just ping a guy, see everybody, throw a hack on them, and they all die, and I can walk in, do the objective, and walk out.
Oh shit.
And I see where the bug is, because like they're supposed to be the net runners, like the enemy net runners. They're not doing anything, because the idea there is like they can block your shit and they can stop you from hacking and all that. But if you don't engage them, you can literally just kill them before they do anything. So like the hacking is super cool. I love how all of it works, but the AI it shows some problems when you go real deep into it, because it's pretty fucking strong.
yeah.
But again, like, they've admitted it's a bug, and I can see the bug, and I'm sure they'll fix it. I just really hope that, like, because they've already said like they wanted to do multiplayer. We already know they wanted to do the expansions like they did for The Witcher. All the other DLC is supposed to be free. All this stuff. Like, if all of this bitching and moaning keeps that shit from happening, like, dude, that's. Can you imagine like being that excited for a game and shitting on it so hard that you just don't ever get to even see the game you wanted? Like, if you just like had a little patience, maybe you could have actually had the game you wanted. Like No Man's Sky. Like, I mean, they shit the bed with that, and everybody hated them, and they went radio silence and came back with this game that was like, here's everything you wanted, and now people are like, this game's fucking awesome. Like,
it's really fucking cool. No Man's Sky is really good now. I think it's like a solid game.
It's proof that you can do that too, because they're a way smaller team than CD Projekt Red, and they were like, "Oh, you want multiplayer? You want to be able to see like 12 people on a planet at a time while building these massive bases? Fuck it, there, you got it." And everybody's like, "Oh, wait, shit, they did it. Oh, okay."
It just took some time.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, so I think we can look forward to the game evolving and moving to where it should be, for sure. Whether that takes a year or whatever, like, I mean, I'm still gonna play it in the meantime. So,
yeah, like I said, even just with the story alone, still, I mean, it's up there in my top games of the year. Still, either way.
Yeah, I didn't want to, like, I don't know. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely the first like RPG open world type game that's resonated with me in quite a while, and I think that I am definitely really enjoying it. And like I said, it's one of the few games that I look forward to going back and playing more of. So, oh, I just remembered we were going to talk about like some games as service type stuff, as like Path of Exile. I mean, Dalton and I played most of the leagues now. At least the last few we played a decent amount of. They had Heist. What was the other one this year too? I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I mean
I think it ended at the start of the year, if I remember correctly.
What wasn't?
Oh my gosh, what was the one before Heist? No, wait.
There was Delirium, Metamorph, or maybe the other way around, and Heist are the last three, I believe.
Okay, so it was Metamorph then. Was the one before?
I mean, Delirium was this year as well, though.
Oh shit, Jesus! Maybe they do a lot more than I think they do. I always feel like it's forever between them, but it's actually really not. I mean, that game it's just good if you like those kinds of games. And then I know I have been playing Destiny 2 again because of Beyond Light. Big story update, big class update, new mechanics, new stuff. I just really like Destiny. It's fun. The gunplay is really fun. The abilities are fun. I just have fun with it. So I think those are the main two for me. But
I think Path of Exile is the only as a service game I still play. The only other one I played this year was the Division 2, and it's the only looter shooter I really like. But unfortunately, it's pretty much dead. I mean,
yeah. Well, we had fun with it for a little while.
I mean, it's not dead in the way like they still like there's still content, like they do their own like league, but it's just not.
Yeah.
The game isn't. They didn't design it really with that in mind. It's kind of like a thing they did afterwards, and you can tell that. Yeah. So you're not going to get big content updates. So it's like it's hard for me to go back after I've done a lot.
Well, I guess on the spirit of looter shooters, I did play a lot of Borderlands 3 this year. I didn't play it last year, but then
together. You played more than me. But...
I for a while during quarantine, that was like my main time consumption.
You played a shit ton of that.
I would literally farm a boss for 8 hours at a time, like to get one drop, and stuff like that. And I was really into like min-maxing and like different builds and things like that, and trying different things. So that, I mean, that one did do quite a bit for me. I like the Borderlands universe a lot.
Borderlands is cool.
Yeah.
I know that wasn't technically a game that released this year, but that was. I expected to like it a lot, and
you didn't.
Mm-mm.
It was definitely better than the pre-sequel for me, at least I think. But
yeah, I don't even really know why. I mean, may just been something I outgrew. I don't know. It didn't like I had fun playing through the main story of the game, like, and the co-op of course is fun, but like I had absolutely no urge to play it like past that. Like I think I made a second character and got it to like level 10 or something, and I just couldn't, like, in comparison to Borderlands 2, which I had so much fun.
Yeah, it's a different experience though, I think. But yeah, so I don't know, anything else you guys want to touch on?
I think that's it.
All right, well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you again for Dalton for coming on for this one. I don't know. We'll probably, at least Alma and I will probably do an episode next week. So,
I'll be out of town. So
yeah, but we will see you guys next time.